Welcome to the Significance of Wealth podcast, where we explore the evolving landscape of wealth management, private investments, and collecting as both a passion and investment strategy. And now here's your host, Tom Ruggie.
Hello to our listeners. Thank you for tuning in for the latest edition of the Significance of Wealth podcast. I'm excited to have James Burton, Vice President, Editorial at Key Media, who also publishes Investment News. Investment News is a staple in the wealth management industry with a very respected following. Each of the past 2 years, they've also hosted what I believe is the top awards banquet in our industry, celebrating excellence across our field. James, thank you first and foremost for joining us.
Oh, it's a very kind introduction, Tom. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Usually I get to ask the questions, but it's going to be an interesting sort of flit.
Yes, you've interviewed me a few times. So.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So for those of you that may not be familiar, would you mind giving us a little bit of background on both Investment News and Key Media, but also share with us kind of your personal journey to what's happened to get you to where you are today?
Yeah, no, it'd be my pleasure. I'll start with sort of Key Media and Investment News' place in that. News is very much one of our flagship titles. So off the bat, it's one of our biggest titles. Very proud to have that in our portfolio. But Key Media itself, it's a global company. So we have offices, Sydney, UK, US, Canada. We have presence in the major markets in the world. And it started off in Sydney. The CEO, Mike Shipley, started a number of years ago, and it's just grown and grown. But the company itself, it's very simply split. We cover the professional markets for insurance. We have HR professionals, mortgage brokers, wealth advisors, obviously. We have education in our portfolio. We have safety in our portfolio and legal titles too, which is a big deal here in Canada, where I'm based in Toronto. So, and within each of those buckets, we have a number of publications. I think Investment News is obviously part of our wealth portfolio. That currently consists of a wealth professional in Canada, which is Investment News' equivalent, essentially, which is a publication for advisors, the advisor community.
Mm-hmm.
And in Canada, we also have a title called Benefits and Pensions Monitor, which focuses more on the institutional money management and obviously benefits, health benefits and various things like that. So, and we're growing. So who knows, in another 5-10 years, that wealth portfolio could be a different size. So that's sort of Key Media, and we're a B2B publisher. I should make that clear. We write for those audiences. We're very proud to be part of the community of each of them. With Investment News, Key Media acquired the title 2.5 years ago now from a UK-based publisher called Bond Hill. And so we were really busy the first year and a half with the transition from the acquisition. And I think this year in particular, in my humble opinion, we've hit our stride more with the content, with how we want the product to look. And as you know, Tom, with the award show, where we're now we're 2 years in with Key Media. And I think that's shown, what we can do from an event standpoint. And I think everyone who went had a good time and enjoyed it.
We are going to talk about the award ceremony and kind of how that came about, because again, to your point, it's only been around for a couple years, but I certainly want to get again back to what your journey has been and how you got to where you are.
Sure. Yeah, no, happy to give you a little potted history. I mean, essentially, I'm a sports journalist by trade.
Oh yeah.
So
I didn't know that.
So I began my career on newspapers in the UK, and now I follow my passion rather than my wallet, and decided I wanted to write about sport, mainly football in the UK, soccer obviously. And so I did that for it's about a decade, and cut my teeth on the UK newspaper scene. It was pretty rigorous. And I always wanted to work abroad. That was one of the things that I just really wanted to do. I wanted to go and live somewhere else and work somewhere else and sample different cultures and different lifestyles and see different people. I then got the chance to help start up a sports newspaper in Abu Dhabi. So I left my UK life very quickly and just hopped on a plane and went to Abu Dhabi and was part of the startup team for a publication called Sport 360, which is still going strong, I'm proud to say. Then I got the opportunity to go and work in Bermuda and work on newspapers there, which was very different, small island life. So very much sort of local politics and local news reporting. But again, it's another great experience. I wanted to see what life was like there.
Could I ask a quick question about that? So,
Yeah, of
you were
course.
working on a local newspaper in Bermuda,
Yeah.
and yeah, I've been to Bermuda a couple of times, and to your point, it's a very small island from everything. So,
Yeah.
what is it? Was it reporting
What do we write
general
about?
news? Like, yeah, what is?
It's a fair question. Well, I think the easiest answer to that, it might sound a bit of a cop out, but when you get into journalism, there's news everywhere. And actually, the most cutting edge news, where you're under the most scrutiny, is local news, because everyone reads it and everyone sees it and everyone knows everybody. So if you spell a name wrong or you get something wrong, you're under, I would say, arguably much more scrutiny than you would be if you were writing for a bigger publication. So we essentially wrote about local politics, the local sports scene. It was quite vibrant, believe it or not. And all the same principles of journalism apply. It's just on a smaller scale. But I would say that, the politics in Bermuda is, once you dig into it, despite the size of the island, is actually quite fascinating, because the demographic split of Bermuda and the history of the island, which was, and the slavery that unfortunately was a big part of sort of the birth of Bermuda, or how a big part of its history. It influences a lot of feeling and a lot of identity and conflict and all the things that make good news stories.
Right.
And then you factor in the fact that it's a British overseas territory and the differing feelings you have towards the crown. There's so many different stories.
Yeah.
And then you factor in things like it's a quote unquote tax haven. So you had all kinds of stories coming out about the companies that had a base there or didn't,
Maybe they didn't.
Yeah, maybe did. It's the whole sort of, it's the cliche story. Google has an office in Bermuda, but it's just a sign on a wall. You know what I mean? It's that type of thing. I found it interesting and a great experience, but there's only so far you can go with it. So I wanted a different challenge, and I got lucky, and I got a job with Key Media, and it got me into B2B journalism and publishing, which is a different skill set. Is the same, but it's a different industry, different priorities. And I started as a writer on Wealth Professional in Canada. So I learned the basics of wealth management and finance through that. And let me tell you, it was a steep learning curve. And it still is a steep learning curve. From going from writing about sport to different funds, bears and bulls. And, I got thrown into Bitcoin when that was a big thing at the time, and all this type of stuff, right? So it was a steep learning curve. And then finally, I've just been very lucky that Key Media has given me different opportunities to kind of progress and expand my skill set. The acquisition of InvestmentNews was a big thing for me, taking on a team and reestablishing that brand. The efforts are ongoing, but we're making progress. And now I'm lucky to oversee a large chunk of the content at Key Media, where mortgage or legal or whatever it is, like I'm having more influence over that. So yeah, super lucky.
Well, and you had a passion and a desire to travel and learn about different cultures and whatnot. And it seems like not only have you been able to do that, but because Key Media is a global organization and you're involved in various components of that global organization, that continues to open up the door for you to do additional traveling.
Oh, 100%. One of the big attractions to Key Media was and is, like, we're truly a global company. So I mean, today I'll be speaking to people in Colorado, in London, in Manila, and later on tonight, Sydney. So, just having that breadth of different personalities in different countries. And, like you said, on occasion, I'm very lucky to have the chance to travel and meet these people and go to our events and help run certain things. It's a good fit for me. I love that sort of global aspect to it.
Yeah.
Has its challenges, of course.
So let's talk about the awards banquet for a little bit. I mean, it's only 2 years old. Investment News itself has been around much longer. I mean, I think I've been a subscriber to Investment News, I want to say 20, 25 plus years. But The award ceremony is 2 years old. It's from our standpoint, it's been literally a highlight of our year for each of the last 2 years. Was this an idea that really got brought upon with Key Media's acquisition of Investment News? And is this something that Key Media does in some of their other verticals? So they just leverage what they already knew? How did the award ceremony come about? And then my second question would be, what are your expectations going forward? Frankly, you guys have knocked it out of the park from the standpoint of the actual ceremony itself. And I just expect that it's going to get bigger and better.
Yeah. First of all, like we were very aware that we were inheriting a legacy brand, right? So there's a lot of good things about Investment News already in place. Like the reputation is unbelievable. But what Key Media has always been quite good at doing, I think, in my opinion, is adding a little, I was going to say like pizzazz, I don't know, bit of excitement, and the best way that we do that in other areas of the business is our award shows and is our events. So we have an events team, like we have an amazing events team. So we looked at Investment News and we looked at what events they did, and we looked at our rivals too, and we sort of looked at what we could bring. We already had a lot of the ideas and the process ready to go. We just looked at the wealthies as an example and just thought, well, how can we differentiate? So we kept the number of awards to sort of like 20, 25. We tried our best to make it as advisor focused as we could. I mean, obviously there's different parts of the industry we want to reward and include.
Sure.
And we had a few meetings where we're like, well, this isn't just a run of the mill event. This is Investment News. We're going to stage it in New York. What can we do to take this to a next level, right? Without sounding like another cliche. So we just kind of knew we had to go the extra mile with Investment News because, the competition is fierce, but also because it's such an important brand, right? We can't, if we're going to do it, you got to do it right.
Well, plus it's kind of an industry where I think that would almost be the expectation. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So
well, you guys have knocked it out of the park. I mean, to have it in New York, I think is the place in the US to have it. A black tie event.
Yeah.
And everybody's just decked out. Very fun event, just a lot of camaraderie. And, and I mean, everybody that I spoke to at the event was there's just an elevated level of excitement that is inherently there. When I talk to people about it, I feel like we're going to the Academy Awards. I mean, that's literally what the feel is.
That was the goal.
Yeah.
It's a red carpet event, right? We want people coming and feeling special, right? The whole idea of the award shows is that we are celebrating excellence. And I feel like regardless of whatever industry you're working in, if you can bring together some top performers and recognize the effort that people are putting in and the results that they're getting, we are literally saying like, it's a big well done. It's a big congrats. Let's have a big party. Even if you don't win and you're nominated, you're being recognized. We want to be part of the advisory community in the US, and we want to be advocate for it, and we want to help you celebrate top performers. And one of the best ways of doing that is to get the cream of the cream into a room together and have a good time, right? I would say the other big part of this, which I think is why the last 2 years have been successful, is that post-pandemic, people are desperate for human connection. We talk about looking into the future. I think what we're going to do at Key Media is double down on events and make sure that we bring people together and give them the opportunity to actually connect in a meaningful way with their peers.
You bring up the pandemic. I actually believe that is also a result of the pandemic. I mean, candidly, 6 years ago, if I were doing this podcast, I would have certainly been in a jacket, if not a tie. But, I think people have evolved in part due to the pandemic to try to enjoy things a little more and celebrate things a little more and frankly, just not be so stuffy.
Yeah, I agree. And it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. Well, we all remember that first time that people started seeing a big glimpse into your home life, kids and dogs and cats climbing all over you or whatever.
Right.
I think initially a lot of us were probably petrified. It's super unprofessional or it's distracting or whatever. But very quickly, it sort of breaks a lot of that stuffiness.
Right.
When you realize that everyone's dealing with something, everyone's just trying to get on and do the best job they can.
It's just more real. And the conference that you were talking about, that you're it's kind of the next evolution of what you're doing. I mean, to me, that sounds very exciting as well. Let's pivot. Let's talk a little bit about what content you're seeing a lot of at this point on the wealth management side. It would seem to
Yeah.
me, AI obviously is at the top of the list or pretty near the top of the list. Obviously, the tariffs and kind of the what's the up and down of what's happened with that over the last several months and the impact to investors and clients and whatnot. What are you seeing out there?
Well, there's the obvious stuff, right? And the challenge is always tying it back to what it means for advisors, because there's so much out there on the political scene right now that is impacting the economy. Tariffs are a huge thing. I do think there's probably a slight sense of fatigue amongst readers about some of those types of stories.
It's just a different narrative.
It's just a different narrative. So I would say that, the best read stories this year is the M&A within the independent space. The biggest story I still think is LPO on Commonwealth. Consolidation within the independent space, that's a big thing. Firms are getting bigger. Are they independent when they get to a certain size? If you are acquired, what does that mean for you? What do you have to give up? This type of thing. It's kind of an interesting place, I would say, in terms of like where the market's at with that. My colleague Andrew Cohen has been following the M&A sort of trends in the industry just to see where it's at, what's happening. There's no doubt LPL Commonwealth was a big one. Now, the question there is how many of those Commonwealth advisors is LPL going to keep, for example?
Well, that's huge. Yeah. What about on the investment side? I put out a lot of content, and one of the things I get requested to either comment on or write about is alternative investments and how that's becoming a larger part of the overall investment marketplace. And then sometimes even dial in on direct investments, which we happen to do a lot of as well. Are you in agreement with that from a content standpoint for investment news or?
Oh, definitely. There's definitely much more consensus or much more interest in having a sleeve of your portfolio that gives you access to private markets, and whether that's build a sort of institutional style or direct investing, like you mentioned, because I think people's confidence took a hit. Fixed income, the traditional 60-40, you go back to the traditional 60-40 income.
That's a balancing act.
Right. Yeah, it's a balancing act. When you think about it, it's been quite a big shift. Because even in the 8 years that when I started writing 60-40, no one really questioned it, really. I mean, it was still like the consensus, 60-40. But now, 8 years on, you speak to the average advisor out there, and they won't be promoting 60-40 as such. They'll be talking about an alternative section. Oh, and they'll be, like you do, Tom, very well, they'll be talking about private markets and how they, and what they're doing in that space. Now, they probably won't do it as well as you do, but then they'll be talking about, but I think when you've got the option to offer clients access to some incredible opportunities that they didn't have access to 10 years ago, then I would imagine you as an advisor, you'd probably feel like you were shortchanging your clients if you didn't explore the options, offer them certain opportunities, while at the same time outlining the pros and cons and the differences. So it's always like, what are the dangers? That's always where my mind goes, because the housing bubble or .com bubble. So now the questions are being asked about private markets, and are people aware of the risks? Is it being done correctly? But that's kind of same with crypto too, right? How regulated is that? Do you really feel safe? How are you getting access to crypto? I mean, the ETFs, they've helped out a lot. And Mr. Trump obviously has helped that along recently too.
For sure.
So you probably add a bit of flesh to that bone there, Tom, like in terms of what you're seeing.
I remember reading an article that the title of the article was 60-40 is dead. So there's been a plethora of articles, especially during that time frame, kind of the 2022 time frame, that a lot was written about that. And I think that did escalate. I think what you were actually saying is advisors really started looking for a way to differentiate themselves. And there's not much differentiation on a 60/40 portfolio when you're mostly using ETFs and everybody's offering the same thing. So I think that's part of the trajectory of where things have gone. I feel we're in just such a fortunate situation because of really the abundance of access that we have to a lot of opportunities that frankly I don't think most firms have access to. But when I saw the private markets 401k deal, I actually had a client text me the article and early in the morning, and I text him back. I said, this is the beginning of the end, because that's to your point about understanding the risks and that are involved with these types of investments. I use the phrase that it's like giving children sharp knives to play with. And I've also written an article, to your point, on the bubble. And it's such a two-sided conversation because on the one side, if you were to ask me today, I think we're in a once in a generation opportunity to make significant investments that could have a significant impact on somebody's wealth. And I read this the other day. The quote was, people are betting their balance sheets on what's going on right now. And it could be crypto, but it could be direct investments or alternative investments. But, the bottom line is very smart people are putting a lot of money to work in these areas. But as you know from history, and I happen to believe history is going to repeat itself, there's going to come a point where greed really kicks in. And the second greed kicks in is when too many companies go back to the internet, and you have all these .com companies that have no substance, no execution, yet they're getting valuations through the roof. And I clearly believe that is going to repeat itself. And I happen to think there's going to be a big boom over the next year to 2 years for a multiple of factors, including political factors and timing factors, where AI is. But I also believe that's going to get blown up into a balloon. And ultimately, when 90% of investors kind of get into it at the last minute for, fear of missing out, then they're going to take a big bloodbath and, of course, blame our industry for letting that happen.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting time, and it's going to continue to be an interesting time.
Yeah, you described it very eloquently there. You're right about the differentiator, if you like, if you want advisors trying to get an edge in the market. But it comes down to, are those advisors doing it just to get business in the door? Or are they doing it because they can really help their clients and they've done the due diligence? And I think you're right. If you open the door, what you'll get, it will become more commoditized and people will just be pushed into certain products. And then, yeah, you kind of lose control of it a bit then, right? So we'll see. You mentioned AI a little bit, and that was super interesting because you all know, Tom, obviously how AI is impacting your industry. The AI in media, it's an incredible time right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're on
I
the
agree.
precipice.
Sorry to interrupt, but and it's also happening so much faster than I think anybody can even understand, including myself, who I delve into it a lot, but it's just happening so fast.
I'm trying to think of the words to describe like how monumental this is. I was on a call with my boss this morning, the CEO of the company. He was on a bit of a fluster, and this is not the first time he's done this call with me. And he's like, because ChatGPT-5 has just come out, right? And so we use the tools, we explore them. We have a duty to do that, see how we can improve or use them correctly. And he's just like, the speed at which these improvements are happening, if we don't do something, we're going to be left behind. And the reality is, it can write you an insightful, grammatically correct piece in seconds. Initially, it's a little scary. My theory has always been, if you're an average writer, and it's probably true in every profession, but if you're an average writer, you should probably start looking for another job. But if you're good, or you bring in knowledge and you have additional skills that bring something to that piece of writing, you're going to be in demand. There actually will be a premium on you. So the key is, if you're not able to differentiate yourself or enhance your skill set or whatever above this kind of mass of AI content, then you're just going to get lost in the swarm.
I think about it all the time. in our business, and I would argue it's the same in your business, but I think AI has the potential in our business to put a lot of people out of business. If you're an average advisor, AI has the potential to completely replace you. What it doesn't have the ability to replace is value. And if you're creating value, AI is just another tool to create additional incremental value on top of what you're already doing. And I believe that's the case, for your industry as well.
Oh, 100%. That's a good way of putting it. It's like, what are you bringing to the stuff that AI is doing? Like, how are you enhancing it? I think if you can't edit copy, if you can't bring value to what ChatGPT and what have you is churning out, if you can't be a bit of a gatekeeper, you need to find another profession.
Yeah, I agree. Kind of adapt and create value.
That's it.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, it is scary, especially when you realize the change. To your point, the speed, like it feels like it's just so quick.
Yeah. Well, it's like everything else. I mean, again, think about the internet. So AI is going to save so much time. And yet the reality, just like the internet saves so much time, our iPhone or whatever phone you use saves so much time. And yet we're still busier and busier.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's not like we're going to kick back with a cigar.
yeah.
It'd be nice, but.
Well, listen, James, this has been fantastic. I feel like we could go on for another hour, but
It's been great chatting.
Yeah, I really appreciate your thoughts, your insights, and everything you do with Investment News. And it's been great working with you and getting to know you over the past couple of years. So thanks for everything.
Yeah, likewise, Tom. And thanks so much for having me on. It's real honor. And congrats again for your awards win. It was a great night.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
That brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to Significance of Wealth on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. You can also follow Tom Ruggie and Destiny Family Office on LinkedIn and Destiny Family Office